retired Air Force colonel. He's now on to his next big challenge, the Strongsville School Board. So Duke, say a few words.
Well, good evening, everybody. I teased Gordon a while ago. I was the vice president of this club at one time, and I never got to say anything, so I decided I had to run for office so I get to say something about the club. But tonight I'd like to introduce you to the Duke Evans that commanded 1,500 people in Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Tonight I'd like to introduce you to the Duke Evans that commanded Desert Strike in 1996 when we moved the no-fly zone north on Saddam. And I'll never forget, it was Labor Day. As a matter of fact, my wing had a down day on the Friday before the Monday of Labor Day. I had just dropped my wife off at the gym to do her fitness thing, and I ran into my boss, a one-star, and he said, "Duke, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, sir, I'm getting ready to run and do some physical fitness stuff." And he said, "No, come with me." So we went upstairs to the 3-star commanding general of 8th Air Force's office, and he looked at me and he said, "How fast can you get bombers around the world?" I said, "What do you mean, sir?" He said, "We need to do a strike on Iraq, and I need you to get some bombers over there." And I'm assuming going through the Mediterranean, across the Atlantic like we normally did. I was stationed in Louisiana, by the way. And he looked at me and he says, "Other way, Pacific." I said, "Oh, okay." So, in less than 48 hours, we had 4 B-52s generated, loaded with conventional cruise missiles, and in Guam. And within 18 hours of that, we had 4 B-52s in the air, flying 36 hours nonstop to the Persian Gulf that convinced Saddam that it wasn't a good idea to fire at F-16s. Now, it's not very often that you get a call right from the White House that says, "Are you ready to go? And if we give the word, can you go?" And I was, to be honest with you, a little afraid. But we did, we executed, and we convinced him that it wasn't such a good idea to fire on our aircraft. You might say, well, what does that got to do with Strongsville School Board? What I'm trying to convey to you is that my background, my experience of leading large groups of folks in complicated missions where large budgets and life and death decisions were at stake, we succeeded at them. And we succeeded at them as a team. And that's one of the things that I think is lacking right now in our city. Of course, I think most of the folks in this room are very aware of the strike that happened in the spring. It did a lot of bad things to this community. Now, it wouldn't be fair if I stood here and criticized the current board. In fact, I would like to thank Mr. Micko and Ms. Brickley for their service on the board, because nobody steps forward to the school board to get rich or famous. However, I think there were some things from what I've been able to gather and from the due diligence that I've done into the school board records that could have been handled differently. And I think that one of the key things is to take advantage of all of the opportunities you have to resolve a strike or to resolve differences with an entity before they come to the point that they did in the spring for us. And for example, what I tell you is our mayor offered his good offices to mediate for the strike, and the SEA took them up on it, but our board didn't. Now, they may have very good reasons for doing that, but I think in those circumstances, and having worked for AT&T for 16 years, where I work with a union every day, I know you take advantage of the good offices of a neutral party to help mediate those kinds of things whenever you can, to try and avoid the consequences, especially to our children, who suffered the most during the strike. I think everybody would agree to that. So one of the things I think that I want to do is improve the relationship with the city government, between the school board and the city, make it one Strongsville, that we're moving forward together as our city council and our mayor lay the plans out, the general big picture plans. The schools have to be right with them, because a large part of our house values and a large part of the reputation of our community lies in the reputation of our schools. And I'm sure that none of us are happy with the report card that we just got, and none of us were happy with the outcome of the strikes in the sense that what it did to the fabric of our community. One of the ideas that I have for improving communications, and I think it's very important that we have accessibility from the board to the community, to the voters, and to the parents of the children, is that we could also possibly do a column in the local papers. I'm talking about the Star and the Post, maybe every week, every couple of weeks, news from the board, or the board talk, or whatever you want to call it. Something in there to let the community know what's going on. Because even though it's recorded on television right now, and there are several people that come to the board meetings regularly, a vast majority of the community is really unaware of what's going on the board, and really unaware of what's going on in the internal workings of the school. And it's especially important right now with $81 million levy pending out there being spent for new middle school and improvements to our other schools, that the community is aware of and is agreeable to what's going on. And I can tell you from the board meetings that I've been to and the minutes that I've reviewed, that I think that there's a lot more supervision and oversight that needs to be done on that $81 million project that is currently not being done. You'd have a hard time finding anything in the minutes where we have current board members that disagree or vote no on something. And I think, well, in the discussions that I've seen, it's certainly not been vigorous, and they have not been a good exchange of information. Now, while I understand that a lot of the business is done beforehand through emails, I don't think that serves the community as well as a good, honest, and spirited debate on the issues. So, the communications, efficiency and effectiveness with the budget. I want to look for things in the budget where there could be efficiencies found. Like any large organization, there are always inefficiencies that you can try and root out and spend the money more wisely. Some of the things that are pending right now, whether or not to raise the price of the school lunches, some of the issues that are always perennially coming up, the cost of some of the extracurricular activities and the pay to participate rates. How much do the parents have to pay? Do we deny any children participation because of money? Those are things that need to be looked at as far as I'm concerned. So let me check my cheat sheet here, make sure I covered